Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Lead Her podcast. It is amazing to have you here listening again, and I hope you are having a fantastic day so far. Now, today's episode, we really want to focus on the worriers, the stressors of the group, those people that really kind of get themselves worked up about certain situations. Now, stress and worry are habits and their behaviors, and they're not something that we should ever really say that we should never have. We should stress is good and worry is good to a certain degree, and we're always going to have it no matter what, and it's normal. But there's also a stage of it where we get ourselves over worried and we get ourselves over stressed, that we're actually not helping ourselves in any way, and it's having more of an impact than just that situation where it's maybe starting to affect your work, or it's maybe starting to affect your home, or it's maybe starting to affect your body. And that's when it's like, this podcast today is just for us to get a little bit more clarity on worry and stress, and also to get some tools that we can maybe use right now if you are feeling really overwhelmed and stressed about something. That this is maybe some tools that you could use, or it's maybe something for you to think about in a couple of weeks or a couple of months time. If something big comes up that you're like, right, okay, I've actually got some strategy here, I've got some tools here that I can try and apply and see if it helps in any way. Like I said, everybody's situation is completely different, so there's no one size fits all, but these are 3 things that I know really kind of help me when I am feeling a bit worked up. And also, just to point out as well, I'm not perfect with this, and there is some occasions when maybe if it is my cycle, I can be a lot more snappier, and I can think a lot more, and I can get myself more overwhelmed when it's at certain times of the month, or if I'm experiencing more stress than ever, and if something is completely out of my control. Of course, I am not perfect, and sometimes for me it might take me a couple of days of expressing the emotion of being like, oh, I just feel so frustrated, I feel so stressed, I feel so overwhelmed. I might feel like that for 1-2 days until I start using my tools, and that's normal. And it's just knowing that even though I'm giving you those tools, I'm still not perfect with it either. And I think that's a really big thing a lot of people don't say when we do give you tips and advice, is like, yeah, it works majority of the time, but there's still times where we fail to kind of do them as well. So one thing with stress is that, like I said, it can affect so many other aspects of your life. So on Lead Her, we have like 5 pillars that we really like to kind of focus on. And when these kind of pillars are affected, we see they affect each other, and it can cause that building to kind of fall down, which is your body and you. So these 5 pillars are your sleep, your training, your nutrition, your confidence, and your work-life balance. And what we kind of see is, like, for example, let's say when you are stressed, we know when people are stressed, they don't sleep very well. So that's going to affect our sleep pillar, which then is going to affect our nutrition the next day. You know what it's like if you have not slept well and you're feeling overwhelmed with stuff. The next day you can feel tired and hungry, and willpower is out the window, and you just want to eat everything and anything to get you through the day, and also to make you feel good in any way. So that's why sleep is so key. So then when we know when nutrition is affected, but then we also know, you know what, your training's affected because you're really tired. You're actually walking slower to work, you're fidgeting less when you're tired, and you're also maybe less likely to go and train and exercise and look after your body and help release this stress and release this worry that we're building up inside, because it is an energy as well. Like, stress and worry and anxiety is an energy that's built up inside you, and when you're tired and exhausted, the last thing you want to do is expend it. But sometimes that's what we need to do. A lot of people kind of relate it in a way like when dogs or animals get anxious, they shake after and they keep shaking, and it's almost like that's like for us as well. It's like this energy that we build up and that we don't get rid of, that it causes more cortisol in the body, and it causes more pressure, more stress, and it is that endless cycle. So your training can be affected, and just your general activity. Your confidence is obviously affected by lack of sleep as well, because of all the last 3 pillars. And then your work-life balance, like, we're stressed, so we're not sleeping, and then our performance at work is going to suffer as well. So, like, with these pillars, it's really interesting to see how stress can affect all of them in every kind of way there. And these are the areas that we want to make sure that we have optimal for you to be feeling your best self. So it's almost looking into this stress and this worry into, like, okay, how can we work on helping us sleep better, and helping us still eat better and still exercise and look after ourselves during these kind of tough times. And I think the big thing with stress as well is, like, a lot of it is a habit or a behaviour. And the big thing right now, if you're listening to this and you're like, I know I stress and I don't sleep, or I overeat, I know I worry too much, and I'm thinking everything that could happen and everything that could go wrong, I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed, and I've just got so many things to do, we're feeling on edge. You know, you feel like that. And I think that's the first step to change, is recognizing that you do something and you're not maybe really happy with the way that you do it, compared to not recognizing it at all. So I think it's a really good thing that you're listening to us today and going, yep, I'm kind of like that, and it does affect all these aspects of my life, and I want to improve that any way I can. So recognizing it is key, and to know that it is a behavior and it is a habit. So like we've discussed on this podcast before, like you have a habit of little things like talking negatively to yourself. You do it all the time. It's just something that you've built up over years, that you can't just take that away in a couple of weeks and a couple of months. So your stress and your worry and your overwhelm are all very similar, where it takes time to rebuild the memories in your head. It takes time to rebuild that behavior and habits to start taking different routes to prevent your brain going into that overdrive as often. Because like we said, we can't completely stop it, but if we can start getting a positive voice and a positive action that is a bit stronger than maybe the negative voice and the overwhelm that we let come in a bit too much, then we would actually prefer. So it's just giving yourself that, knowing that you're not going to be perfect at this. Like I said, I'm not perfect at it, and sometimes it's a couple of days after I go, oh, maybe I should have handled that situation better, and that we learn from that, and that we take ownership of that when we haven't really maybe done it our best. It's like, right, okay, how could I make that better next time? So I want to give you some tools today that, like I said, have helped me to manage my stress a little bit better and relax a little bit into it a little bit. And like I said, I still have those kind of couple of days or couple of hours where I need to express the emotion, and then I put my big girl pants on and I start working on my tools. So the first, so we've got 3 here, which is believe, purge, and prioritise. That's the 3 things, the 3 methods that I would look into doing when we are feeling really worried, when we are feeling really kind of stressed. So believe is something that someone, I don't know where this came from, but it's really, really old. I heard it years ago and it just stuck with me, and it just gave me a sense of like, yes, you know what, I can bloody do this. And it was something to do with someone saying, when you're really stressed and worried about something, you're normally feeling that way because you don't think you can do it. So if you actually believe you can do the job, and you can chase that goal, or you can have that difficult conversation, or you can do that thing that is stressing or worrying you, that you can do it and you can get through it, then you shouldn't stress, because you know you can do it. And I'll be totally honest to every single one of you listening, like, you are amazing and you are incredible, and you are in this position for a reason. Whether your employer is giving you this extra stress because they know you're capable of doing it. You would not be given this stress and this workload if you were not good enough to do it. Your coaches maybe gave you this plan or this program because they believe you can do it. Or you're in this situation for a reason, because your colleagues or your friends or people are looking to you because you're the strong one. And that's why you're getting this stress and you're getting this worry and you're getting this overwhelm to do this task or to go through this experience or this goal that is causing that concern for you. Is like, believe that you can do it. And that sometimes makes you go, okay, well, it's not stress, it's not worry, because I can do it. I can achieve it. And that's where belief really kind of comes from. And you can imagine as well, like, if we started to take that approach of like, no, I have the skills, I have the knowledge, I have the experience in these areas, so I can do this. Everything's going to be okay. And then you kind of take a bit of control. And when you're taking that bit of control and you've got that bit of belief, you can just imagine you show up completely different. You're maybe going to sleep better, which then improves all those pillars, where you're going to still train and you're going to still eat well, because that mindset is like, right, I have belief that I can do it. And at the end of the day as well, like, sometimes we need to go through this challenge to get out our comfort zone, but also to learn different things and different ways of doing things. And it's a stress right now, but the next time that stress or worry comes up, you're going to know how to handle it. So knowing either way, this situation right now, you're in it for a reason, and people believe in you, and you should believe in yourself that you can get through this. And it's not maybe as horrible and bad and scary and everything as we're kind of making out and we're foresighting to happen from taking that charge of belief. So I just remember listening to it one time, and it's helped me in so many ways, where if I've had to have a difficult conversation, or I've had a big workload or a big intake, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it by doing X, Y, Z. I've done it before. I have the skills and the knowledge to do it. These people have came to me to help them with it. So this is my job, this is my purpose, and this is what I can do. Okay, so it's just flipping that stress, that worry to be like, right, actually, I believe I can do it. So it's not stress. Okay, so stress should be there when you know you can't do it. Okay, so I just love that reframing of it, and I just find that really, really powerful. The next thing would be purge. So we do this with a lot of our Lead Her members when we're like, right, when I am reading their feedback form and it is just chaotic and there's so much going on and they're so overwhelmed, I'm like, look, we need to just pause right now and write all of this down. Write down everything that you need to do. I know every single one of you right now who are listening have got 101 things in their brain, like with work, with at home, with the kids, with your friends, with your family, and you've just got all this spinning in your head. And when we get really stressed or really worried about stuff, there's all these things that we need to kind of do, and we start thinking we don't want to do anything because we feel like we've got so much. Yeah, it's almost like we can't stop, we can't get started because there's just so much. So what I say is, like, we need to sit down and purge and write down every single thing that is in your head that you need to do, and just doing a big to-do list. And I know sometimes for some people that may be more scary, but write down everything, because for me there's been so many times when I've felt really overwhelmed and Joe's been like, right, okay, well, what do you need to actually do? And I'm like, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I say it out loud, and I'm like trying to think of other things I need to do because I'm trying to justify why I was so stressed when it's actually only 2 or 3 things, and they're actually not even a big deal. So it's writing them down, and then that way that it's all out this head, and you'll maybe be like me and you'll be like, actually, it's not actually that bad. And then it comes down to prioritizing. Okay, so we always kind of like to say that your life is like dials. Okay, it's not an on switch and off switch, like you're on the wagon, off the wagon. I hate when people say that. It's not off and on, it's just dimmer switches. Okay, so I like to say you've maybe got your life dimmer switch, you've got your career dimmer switch, and then you've got your health dimmer switch with your training and your nutrition. This training and nutrition should always be middle, where it's like sustainable and doable, but there is going to be times when life takes over and it turns down a little bit, but we never switch it right off. There's always a bit of presence there. Same with life. Like obviously we know when it's Christmas and stuff, that life dial is turned right up and everything is right down, which is normal, you know. So it's always seen them as dimmer switches and not on and off switches. So when we maybe are worried or stressed, if it is career related, then it is known that that dial is going to be turned up a wee bit. It's a bit more of a priority. So when we look at this list and we know we've got a deadline, it's maybe looking at this list and going, okay, there's some things in here like training 3 times a week or 4 times a week. Maybe I need to cut that down to 2. And we're just turning that training dial down just a little bit. We're still looking after you. You're still getting active. You're still releasing a bit of stress. We're still keeping you healthy, still looking after your heart and your lungs. And also we know exercise is good for when you are busy and stressed. So it's turning that down a little bit to turn the career goal up a little bit so that you can manage that stress better, and it feels better for you just to score something off that list, and it's less pressure. Your expectations are in alignment, which we've talked about on this podcast before, where you can start seeing that the things that you need to do are more doable and more manageable. For example, we had a member last week who had a really, really busy week coming up. She had a really big kind of meeting day on Thursday. So we kind of planned the week accordingly, where we were like, right, that's going to be a really busy day on the Thursday. So what do we need to make a priority before the Thursday? Which was, she got all her meals planned, so she wasn't stressing and picking eating towards the end of the week. We got maybe a 1 or 2 sessions in at the start of the week and made sure that Thursday was a free day where she didn't have to worry about anything and she could just focus on work that day, and then maybe do some workouts off the back of it. So it's just really writing everything down and then taking it all into a priority list and being like, right, what really needs to happen? Because a lot of the time, like me, when Joe asks me what do you need to do, I'm making things up to justify why I'm so stressed and worried and overwhelmed, to make it sound worse than it is, to make my situation feel harder, and to feel sorry for myself and overwhelm myself even more. You know, it's write it down and actually being like, okay, these are actually the things that I can drop off and not feel guilty for. Even like on that Thursday or that week that you maybe do have loads of job interviews, or you have to do lots of applications, or your job interviews, you've just got a lot on that one week, give yourself permission to just drop off a session. Give yourself permission to eat out that day. yeah, just like it's only one day. And I think when you start to kind of give yourself that wee bit of permission to work around these tough days, but still make the rest of the week great, just helps you relax a little bit more and still feel on track and still have these dimmer switches at a good level. Okay, so I hope that's gave you that 3 things there: believe, purge, and prioritize. You're not going to be always perfect at it, but it's just slowing down and taking that time to do it when it does come into your head, because once we know that you actually can do it and everybody's giving you this challenge because you're good at what you do, you're listening to this podcast, so of course you are, you're amazing, you're incredible, and you're the person for the job. And I think like the last thing to really kind of add into that as well is like, if you really are struggling, ask for help. You know, like myself and Joe, like we help each other as much as we can as a team. And I know when family and stuff are involved, it is harder, of course it is, but it's maybe sometimes saying to your partner, look, I've got a really big deadline here, I need you to start doing XYZ for me because I just can't do it right now. And asking for help from your partners, or asking for help from your colleagues, or asking help from work, if it's these things that are really stressing us and really worrying. And just remember, we are spending so much energy, time, and overwhelm on something that's not even happened yet. We're thinking the worst case scenario all the time, which is causing us not to sleep, causing us to feel overwhelmed, increasing cortisol in the body, making us feel soft, bloated, and out of shape just because of stress. And stress is aging us as well, and we're making ourselves feel that way when we really don't need to. We have so much more control over this worry and this stress than we really kind of realize. And that when we kind of start thinking about that belief, we can start actually knowing that you can control how you want to feel about this. And like I said earlier, you can either control that you show up in a belief way and you'll get more done and enjoy the process a wee bit more and enjoy the challenge a wee bit more and ask for help and not be scared to do that. And then lastly, like if we don't take that approach, you know what it's like as well. If we don't believe and we don't purge and we don't prioritize, we end up doing a worse job. We're not sleeping well, we're hungry, we're tired, we're working on empty, we're working on zero, we're like forgetting things to take to work, we're forgetting to make our lunches, we're grabbing food on the go, and we're just really digging our confidence into this hole and just not helping ourselves in any way. Like I know when I'm really busy and I'm really stressed, I make so many spelling mistakes. I know when I'm hungry and I'm tired, I'll end up like tripping or dropping something on my foot, and then I get angry and then I snap at Joe. You're just setting yourself up for this mood, and you're just this big walking moody cloud because you're just letting yourself run away with all these thoughts and processes that might not even happen, guys. All these things we're worrying about, we're stressing about, might not even happen. They could happen. And I think that's the best way to finish this podcast today, is like, worst case scenario, is it really that bad? Like me and Joe say all the time, if we were to lose everything, like we'd be okay, we'd be together, we'd have Lola, we are in love, we'd build things back up again. That's always going to happen. And you know what? It would never get to that stage because we love what we do and we believe in what we do, and we practice what we preach, and we always want to just work and do our best at anything, any job, any career. We'll always give it our all. So it's just like, worst case scenario, is it really that bad? You know, and it's just like, if it doesn't work out, then maybe sometimes it's not meant to be, or it'll be a funny story that we can tell in the future. Or like I said as well, it could be something that actually teaches us for next time it happens. We'll maybe be a wee bit more prepared and have more skills to get around it better. Okay, I hope this has helped. Let me know if it has in any way, whether you're going through a tough time just now. I'm here, let's chat about it, let's catch up and give you a wee bit more support. Or if it's something that comes up in the future and you remember that belief quote wherever I heard it, I don't know, I wish I did, but it's just always stayed with me, and I hope it stays with you guys too and helps you through some tough times. Right, before you go, remember, you are going through this tough time because you're made to. You are amazing at what you do, and you will get through this tough time. And try and take it with both hands and give it your best, and make sure you still look after yourself during this tough time. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I'll speak to you all soon.